The more you try to keep me down and keep my head above the water, you can never hold me down. The more you try to block me out, that's where I kick the wall down. You can never hold me back. The more you try to put me out, the more I'll be blazing, it's too hot. The more you try to put me in the dirt, increase my work, the expert. You see the hunger in the eyes of a survivor. Swallowed my pride, washed down with some saliva. Reinvented my whole life, mental MacGyver. One door shut, another open up wider. Listen, battle drums in the distance, moving with enough force like army tank pistons. Pray for the strength of Jah to fight resistance. Fight mode, shields up, moving with resilience.
The strength of 1,000 lion and the strength of 1,000 giant. Please stay strong. Please stay strong. With the strength of 1,000 elephant and the strength of 1,000 tiger, we stay strong. We stay strong.
Yo.
Hey.
What's good?
You know, listen, usually I'm like, hey, everybody, it's Casey with Pinecase. Welcome, everyone. It's Tuesday evening. It's the podcast where music is our drug of choice and all that good stuff. And then I started like reading what you've done. And I'm like, how in the heck am I going to drop all this into like one quick intro? Like
Oh, shit.
Student of hip hop, beatmaker, seasoned MC, like old school, bringing it new school, all this great shit. Like, Werdperfect. Welcome to Pinecase.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. Yeah, my name's Werdperfect. I'm a rapper, MC, beatmaker, sound mixer. Currently in Las Vegas, Nevada. Originally from Cleveland, Ohio. Have lived in like the Southwest and the West Coast for quite some time. The majority of my adult life, really. Have fallen in love with this area and recently moved to Vegas with my girlfriend in July. So it's almost a year now.
Oh,
And
dang.
yeah, it's been really dope. So yeah, thanks for having me. I'm stoked to be here.
Anytime, the door's wide open.
Yeah.
I'm kind of actually curious before, we get into like the knit and the grit of stuff, but like, why Vegas? Like, was there something
Yeah, proximity. So I'm a sound mixer by trade. I'm a sound mixer for TV and film, and there's a good amount of film and TV happening out in Las Vegas right now. I was in Los Angeles before. I still go back there and work a lot.
Yeah.
It's real close. It's easy for me to go back and forth. I got family in LA and friends, and my girlfriend's parents were in Vegas. We were going back and forth visiting, and we're like, let's make a change. It's cheaper, it's quieter. We got 3 dogs. Now we got a yard.
Yeah.
LA was just I'd been there for so long, and it's just gotten kind of hectic. And just needed a change of pace. Sometimes change is good,
I love
especially
that.
for the mental. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
for real. You got
Yeah.
to like prioritize that. People don't realize that geographically sometimes like that is the difference. Calco and I were having this conversation today. I was like, man, I forgot what it was like to live in a town where like people really know who you are and what you're about. Like I'm spoiled. I don't know my neighbors. Like I don't even,
Yeah.
there's acres between us. So yeah, good on you for making that change and seeing that. And also family too. Like sometimes you just got to do it for them, right? Especially when there's kids around and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, and it's like we went from, LA's great. I have nothing but love for it. But we went from living in 1-bedroom apartments to having like a yard and a house, and spare rooms and stuff. So it's an awesome change. It's been a blessing. So yeah.
Wicked. So bring us back a little bit on how, you started in music. Cause obviously, that ain't paying the bills for everybody, right?
No, and sometimes it doesn't just, that's not the only thing that pays the bills for me all the time, but it's like, I grew up in a real musical household. My father was a classic rock guitar player, grew up playing the blues and playing in bands. My mom was like a hippie Beatles head. So there's always music in the house and whatnot. I'm 40 years old. I was born in 84. So I'm a product of the 90s. And in my opinion, the greatest era of hip hop. Y'all can at me in the comments, but I believe that and will defend that with my heart.
Yeah.
Not to say there's a million great artists out right now. I think it's a great time for independent music in general. But yeah, so I grew up hearing my dad play, and it just seemed like a normal thing to write songs. Even as a little kid, I was trying to write lyrics and trying to write songs from a real young age. it just felt intuitive, I guess. It was always kind of like a coping mechanism for me too, writing lyrics and words, and they seemed to impact me so much that I was drawn to them. And then obviously, you know, a teenager, 11, 12 years old, when you hear like Wu-Tang Clan come out, or you know what I'm saying, or like my neighbor, I used to play basketball down the street from my house with an older kid who was like 16 or 17, and that's really kind of who put me on to like, it was like Wu-Tang Clan, Nas, Old Red Man, and that kind of stuff we would play while we were playing basketball. That I just fell in love with. From there, it was just try to find out as much about this like kind of rap underground. You know, this is before the internet and all that. I guess you had like Source magazine and like,
oh my God, the Source, yeah.
MTV, you know what I'm saying? Yo, MTV
Right.
Raps was a thing and stuff like that, but it was like you were waiting for these like magical moments to come out from these artists that were just kind of like doing things that had never been done before with the genre, you know. So it was really cool, and I fell in love. So naturally, I started to, you know, try to write my own raps or write my own lyrics and stuff. As a teenager, started going to open mics and shows really as like a 15-year-old. You know what I'm saying? I think my first rap group we started, I think I was 15 when we started that. So
Dang.
yeah.
I feel like that. So first of all, the Source magazine is like, I distinctly remember a friend of mine running in with it with like ODB had passed away. Like that
Oh
was
God,
such,
yeah.
right? Like that,
Yeah.
I can still picture that cover. Like I'm sure I probably own it in a shoebox somewhere. Like if I dug
Sure.
really deep, you know. And it's amazing like how much we really leaned on that to like to grab those pieces and stuff. And the a part of the culture that left where that is really important, like when you're saying like hanging out with, you know, the older kids in the neighborhood, like that's the piece of the culture that we need to bring back, right? Like
The
that's
community aspect of it.
Absolutely.
I mean, look at the, you know, how hip hop started. It started in the park as a block party. You know what I'm saying? Block parties, and it was a community thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was yeah, that was one of the greatest things about it, and that's what I was drawn to. Is there was these cats, you'd go to these open mics and you'd see the same rappers and the same MCs every week, and it was like, man, how do you get into this? You know, it seemed like you know, you had to figure out how to get this key to get into these doors to be able to rap with these people that, you know, you're a kid. So to me, it's like these dudes are wizards, and I'm like, how do you even what are you doing? I was just kind of I was amazed by it from the moment I saw it from when I was a kid, and just wanted to do that. Yeah.
And wasn't that the way that like the kid like that? I'm sure that's how we ended up with like lighting techs and sound techs and you know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
All these pieces of the community that like are a dying breed. I mean,
100%. Yeah, it
right?
was like the one cat loved hip hop, and he knew how to run the mixer, knew how to run the sound system. Obviously, there was a DJ or somebody that was playing the beats and whatnot. But it's like, yeah, these were all integral parts of the community. And back then, there was always breakdancers at the jams. There was always some cats tagging on something, myself included. You know what I'm saying? And there was all these like little subgroups within the subculture that were like, man, this is like, you feel like Zelda trying to navigate these different worlds within the community was really dope. So yeah.
I miss that. It's actually when I seen your name, I was like, word, like just that it invoked and provoked maybe like so much. Like I actually distinctly there was a MC out of Vancouver and his name was Word Oner, and I seen his name like everywhere on trains, like on the side of buildings and all this stuff. And so like
Sure.
even just like the way that you spell your name was like it brought me back to this place that I mean I could smell it even like you know what I mean I could smell it, and you can like hear the cardboard and like you know the hat with like the extra pieces of duct tape on top because like people ain't trying to mess up their stuff.
Doing
It's
head
like
spins and shit. Yeah.
like it like brought me back. I was like, oh, he knows what's good. Like he, you know, because you don't just come through like that unless you've experienced it, right?
Yeah. And I don't know. I still have so much love for that culture. And that was another thing that got me into hip hop in general was graffiti and just kind of seeing that. You know, I was a creative kid. I was kind of a weird little creative kid. I liked basketball, but I also liked drawing and I liked making music and stuff. So I would go downtown and see these games in Cleveland, Ohio with my dad and whatnot, and see, you know, you take the red line or something sometimes. Was like our transit system through the city or whatever. It's still going on today, whatnot. But and you see graffiti on the walls and you're like, who are these people doing it? Again, it's another like mystery in this community that I'm like, I need to be a part of this. I need to know what's going on. So I think, you know, and obviously I fell in love with graffiti and started writing graffiti. And yeah, that's been a part of my life for a long time. The name Werdperfect was given to me when I was maybe 15
Okay.
by a couple graffiti writers. Wrote Psycho One at the time. We're still in a graffiti crew together and whatnot.
Yes.
And Verbs Winner, rest in peace, who was an amazing graffiti writer who passed away about 5 years ago. But yeah, they gave me the name Werdperfect when I was probably 15 or so, and I ran with that. I didn't use it for a long time, and we can get into this later. But I spent you know, a lot of my later teens and earlier 20s and whatnot, kind of playing in different groups, rapping both. And also doing some singing because I make other music as well. And I recently came back and started using the moniker Werdperfect and releasing names under Werdperfect during the pandemic and whatnot, was when I first started writing it. So this is kind of a reintroduction to like that kind of old sound, kind of picking up where I left off and whatnot, you know? So,
well, as a lover, you know, as a lover and a bystander, and a contributor in a lot of ways, I appreciate it and I respect it a lot. And I think it's a missing piece. And the only way to kind of gain or, you know, teach our kids or bring it back to that, like, is to take action and to fully just be like, this is what it is. This is actually what it looked like regardless of whatever. Because you know, we've had people come on here and be like, even in Canadian hip hop culture, it's like someone just came over. Def 3 came on and was like, man, someone just took a slab and dropped it over top of our whole culture. And now the only thing we associate Canadian hip hop with is fucking, pardon my language, Drake. Like, you know, and so yeah, I appreciate you going back and using it because it, like I said before, like it kind of it makes us remind ourselves that that is true and really was a thing that we experienced.
Yeah, absolutely. And it still is a thing. Those places exist. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they don't seem as limited and you know, the internet's not real life, but in real life that stuff's still going on. You know what I'm saying? I was just played a show in New Mexico and there were hip hop heads there. You know what I mean? It was some real shit. So that was cool. But yeah, I love that. That's the jam in the park type feeling. That's what I live for and try to capture. Yeah.
It's amazing. So where does the beats part of it come from? Because again, like that's really far away from, you know, graffiti. That's, you know, I mean, it's maybe not so far away from being an MC, but that was another piece that really stuck out. I was like, you really, I mean, if everyone would just come out and do the instrumentals for us and let us make reels in peace, you know what I mean? Then we'd all be so appreciative. So like when I was going down the rabbit hole of your Instagram, I was just like, oh my gosh, can you please just release all these? Because every time I go to look for like some background or something, like this is what I'm looking for. I don't, you know what I mean? Like what drives your passion for that part of it?
Oh man, I initially started making beats because I had nothing to rap over and I didn't really know any producers, and the producers I did know were like older and working with more established artists in the city and whatnot. I mean, I'm sure I was a kid at this point. I started making beats on just a dual tape deck, like where you could copy tapes. And I don't know if this was a common term, but I called them pause tapes. We all called them pause tapes, like my friends and I, when we were kids. And you'd wait and you'd sample, like whether it be on the oldies station or some old soul or some old 80s rock, and you pause it and then you'd copy it over, and then you pause it and then you'd copy it over. And after you did that like 100 times, manually stopping, pausing, recording it, you kind of have this funky kind of loop that worked. And those were like the first beats I made. And this was a kid playing with a tape deck or tape machine. And to be honest,
waiting all day for a song to come on, like
waiting by the radio all day for one song to come on, so you might get a snippet of it. You know what I'm saying? And that was the game. And I, like I said, I think I said like I felt like Zelda trying to find the key or whatever. I can't even remember if he was trying to find a key. Kind of just a hero on a mission type thing where you have to figure out how to get access to all these little doors, whether it be where do you rack spray paint, where do you get these caps at, where do you get cheaper records at, where do you get the gear at. But anyways, back into beats, it was kind of all just DIY. I may be rambling, but
no,
punk rock and hip hop are the two most DIY things I've ever experienced in my life, and that's like, I love that shit. Just kind of trying to take ingenuity and figure it out and MacGyver some shit. So that's how I started making beats, is trying to MacGyver shit. I was a good kid. I was real good at sports and all that, but around 14, 15, I was getting rebellious. My parents split, and I was kind of skipping school a lot, smoking a lot of weed, still do whatever that was a problem back then, it seemed. Was just kind of like on a rougher path, getting in trouble for graffiti and stealing and shit, dumb kid shit. But my mom noticed that I would come home sometimes and stay in the room and work with music and try to make beats and whatnot. And she noticed it was this thing that I gravitated towards. And one year for my birthday, she got me a drum machine. And like, it wasn't a cheap drum machine. And my mom she's not like balling out of control. She just became a single mom, has 3 teenage kids, is going back to work for the first time. She was a stay-at-home mom. And then when my pops and her split, she had to go back to work or whatever and take care of us. So she must have, saved up. This wasn't a very easy thing for her to buy, but she saw what it meant to me. And it's still the most impactful thing. And I'm touching it right now. It's sitting next to me. That exact like MPC 2000 XL. Here, I could pull it because it's not plugged in at the moment, but I still use a newer version of this. I mean, this is classic. This is classic. Like, Dilla uses this, Kanye uses this. Every producer in the world has used this, right?
Yeah.
But so yeah, she got me that back when I was a kid, man. And if I had this thing for 20 years and I still use it, I mean, now I don't really use it that much because I have a newer version of it, and I really like it. It's a really good version of it. But yeah, so she set it off with that, and that just took me down a journey of like, this is all I'm going to do. And I did. I would still go to parties and still do all these things, but I'd always leave early. I'd leave the social gatherings early and go make beats. I knew it was what I wanted to do, and I just kept doing it. So when I was 18, I applied to this school in Arizona, an audio engineering school. I didn't get in the first time. I applied, I think, 3 times, and on the 3rd time I got in. Ended up moving out there on a whim. I had never been there before. I was 18, moved to Arizona, Tempe, Arizona, went to this school called Conservatory of Recording Arts and Sciences. Very small, but very amazing school for learning how to record professionally. Because to this time, I'm in my room with a record player, really doing some like DIY shit. I don't really know what I'm doing. So,
well, first of all, shout out to your mom. Like,
shout out to her. I mean, what I do for a living now, I am a sound mixer for a living, and work on sets mostly, and that's where most of my main income comes. But it does come from making music and beats and mixing other people's shit. That would have never started. Like, that was the catalyst for that shit. You know what I'm saying? She could have taken no notice and like been like, man, he's going to do his thing. And I could have been doing, this could have never. So shout out mom. Shout out Trish the Dish. Yeah, she's cool.
Yeah. Shout out to Trish. She knew though, man. And you know what? Like, moms.
Yeah, that's real shit.
That's real. But she was like tapped in. Like, good on her for paying attention. And I mean, honestly, like, people in the comments, hi, we see you. You guys take notes. Like, take some notes. If you're a kid, like if you're a parent, like, we know that it's not that easy, but like $10 a day, putting a little bit of money aside. I mean, Calico can speak on this.
And now it's
all sorts of stuff. Like, it can really do something. At least keep them out of trouble a little bit. Like,
at least keep them out of trouble. I mean, if you see your kid spark interest in anything, like, push them as far towards. I mean, not overbearing. Like the don't push your kid in the direction just because you see, but gently nudge them in the direction they seem to most naturally go towards, because that shit is invaluable. And I think more people would end up in more happy, fulfilling positions in life if that's what they had as a young kid or whatever. So shout out moms. And she was like that with me, my brother and sister. We're all successful in our own right, and do totally different things. But she saw that with all of us. You know what I'm saying? And my pops too. R.I.P. But when we're, my dad was a great dad, and he was a musician and also a veterinarian. And he did two very, very contrasting things. When my mom got pregnant with me, my dad went back to vet school. So like the first few years of my life, my pops was in college, like trying to get a career. He was a broke musician before that. So I also had 2 very inspiring people around me that were like, that's also why I'm 40 years old and I can still do this and feel comfortable and not like my dad played music till the day he died. You know what I'm saying? Live everywhere. Like it doesn't matter. Age doesn't matter. Where you're at doesn't matter. Social status doesn't matter. Who you are doesn't matter. It's just like, do what you love. And I was lucky enough to have two parents that instilled that in us as kids. So yeah, that's dope.
Yeah, that is it's amazing. Even just hearing him like going back to college, like, you know, a lot of us, we get stuck in this one
Crazy.
thing and we beat it to death, and it's like, you know, it's okay to be passionate about something and to really want to do that, but if it's not working, like, it's okay to pivot to then support that
You
hobby,
never,
like,
yeah, and you're never too old to change or learn or
Mhm.
grow or switch it up. Like life, humans are adaptable,
Yeah.
and no matter how bad it seems, like you can pivot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you're unhappy where you're at, you can pivot always. That's a real
Yeah.
thing.
No,
So
absolutely. Actually, I
yeah,
start school next Monday. I'm like getting a little bit nervous, but yeah, don't hesitate, you guys, on your dreams. Never hesitate. Like, just do it because
never
it's
hesitate,
yeah,
levitate. Yeah,
yeah, exactly, exactly.
bars.
Listen, hey,
Yeah.
speaking of bars, what is your favorite? Like, if you got to go back and pick a bar, which I'm sure is not that easy to do, like, what is one that you wrote that stands out to you the most? That
My personal bar of mine that stands out the most. I guess it's a verse. I mean, I could say it real quick. It's not long or anything. I'd say a little bit of it or whatever. This is from a joint called Brave Creation. And it's really just an introspective verse looking inward at myself and who I am and where I'm and how I feel sometimes. So it goes, brave creature grazing in the gray ether. She's a diva, used to be a true believer. The two-seater smelling like the rudest reefer. The zookeeper, here to tame the wild cheetah. I could keep going, but that's kind of the initial start to it or whatever.
dang,
Yeah.
that's sick. That's so sick.
Thank you. But that's one of my favorites. Yeah.
That's so fun. It doesn't even need to be like that serious, right? But I feel like there's like a
Yeah.
lot going on in there. Like, you know,
Yeah, I guess that's just the first one that came to mind too. That is definitely my shit is all not very deep all the time. You know what I'm saying? It's like a lot of it is stream of conscious and just kind of like letting my mind play with its letting my mind kind of drift away in thought. Yeah, get lost in thought.
That's the most beautiful piece of it all. Like, you know,
Yeah.
there's all these amazing conscious rappers out there right now, and there's all these amazing people that are pushing these narratives that are really important, you know, for us as a society
Yeah.
to grow. But also equally as important is the entertainment piece of it. Like, not everything has to be that serious all the time, and sometimes we need to shut off our mind with just as much enthusiasm as we do try to engage our minds, right? Like, we gotta
Yeah, and I think when you kind of let go, that's when you kind of bring out this piece of yourself that thinking sometimes doesn't get you there. You know what I'm saying? It's like even in like stream of conscious writing or like my subconscious will kind of say some things that ring true to me a little bit later. I'll listen back and be like, "Oh my God, that really this is probably what I was really on, really thinking about, and this is where I was in my life." You know what I'm saying? It's I think lyrics and music especially we have this like strange power of like making us be self-reflective, obviously, and draw emotions out of us and whatnot. So yeah, I think not everything has to be serious in music, especially because like you can there has to be this feeling or this emotion. You have to convey this emotion, and that's what, you know, makes it connect. You know, a guitar chord can connect with somebody just as hard as a lyric. You know what I'm saying?
facts.
In the right context, you know what I'm saying, or to the right person. So
Facts.
yeah.
Is there, yeah, no, absolutely. Is there any like piece of music that you made that came back around and hit harder like years later down the road where you're like, wait, it's had like an almost a new life, not even to maybe the community, but like to yourself?
To myself, yeah. I think even back to what I was just saying is I think sometimes I'll write lyrics just in my head thinking these were something sounded cool, and I'm not able to pull anything specific up off
No,
this
it would
example. But I catch this quite a bit as I'll listen back, you know, months or even years later sometimes, and I'll hear something and I'm like, oh my God, man, that really that shit hits. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah. But at the time it was nothing. So yeah, that happens all the time. I'm a very non-precious musician and non-precious artist, and where I really try to put myself into my music and really just try to be honest and say what I feel in the moment, both with my beat making and my lyrics. I'm quick and try to keep it quick, and I'm in a really energetic mood today or a happy mood today, so I put out this energetic happy song, and it all kind of happens for me. It happens within like an hour or two is usually when I get a song out. That doesn't happen every day. I try to write every day. Usually it's trash. Everything sucks. I hate it. I'm so unhappy with myself and I want to quit me making music. But usually if I do it every day, once a week, once every other week, I'll get something where I'm like, yeah, that's cool. So I try not to be precious. I think that's good advice for people who make music, because there's something about the just organicness and raw emotion of like just being really present and feeling what you're doing in the moment that I think brings out really cool shit. And this is just my opinion. What the hell do I know? You know what I'm saying? But that's how I feel. I feel the most cathartic when I'm the most free of thought when I'm writing or making music.
It might
Does that
be
make sense?
maybe the most valuable thing that's been said on this show, to be honest, because
Yeah.
there's a ton of kids. I mean, we have our warm line, and you guys can hit
Mhm.
it whenever you need to. It's 250-289-3948. So go ahead and use it. We're around, but there's people that reach out, and sometimes it's just, it's something as simple as music, and they're just like, oh, I'm stuck on this, or there's like all this heavy pressure or whatever, and it's just like, but isn't it supposed to be this tool for yourself
Sure.
just as much as it is like a blessing for us to to consume it on the other side? Like, so I think it's a great piece of advice.
1,000,000%. And like, it is my greatest tool for coping with mental health and whatnot, and like getting my emotions out and my feelings out. And I'm very, very blessed to have people that listen to it and enjoy this and can relate to it. And that's a thing that came way later in my life. But like, I've been doing it since, I was a kid, really for my own sanity. I think I would have gone crazy without it. And there have been times where I have kind of lost my way and not made music for a year or so and really went down some dark paths, but I always came back to it, and it's always been kind of like my safest place in life and continues to be that. So like, if you really love doing this and you love making music for yourself and for other, the chances of other people feeling it coming from a genuine place are very good if that's where you're coming from. But like, it's been the most useful tool for me in my personal life to keep an even keel, even though I'm never always on an even keel, but you know what I'm saying?
You and I both.
It helps. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't do hard drugs. I don't drink really at all. I do smoke marijuana. But like, I've spent a long time getting away from much more dangerous coping mechanisms, and have found that music has been the most powerful out of anything I've ever tried. So yeah.
Amen to that.
Word. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think kept you away? Because I mean, not that heavy drugs are part of hip hop culture. I don't know if that's
They
what
are.
I'm saying.
They are. And in the
But-
late 90s, early 2000s,
Right.
they were everywhere. I mean, it was
Yeah.
were you gonna ask what kept me away? Because
Right.
nothing kept me away. I was right there with them. You know what I'm saying? And I had some very rough times in my late teens to early 20s. Because they were prevalent. And obviously I'm not talking about smoking weed and
No.
Drinking can become a very easy problem, as can smoking weed for some people, don't get me wrong. But late 90s, early 2000s, it was pills, cocaine, all that shit coming off the rave shit. So there was still, it was everything, ecstasy. We didn't have fentanyl. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We didn't have fentanyl. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, that is the scariest shit in the world that I've seen in my lifetime, drug wise. It's like,
Man, 91 deaths a day in North America. And
go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you. Yeah.
No, it's so frustrating because I feel like my kids have been robbed of like the experimental fun, like go out to the bush and eat mushrooms shit. And it kind of pisses me off. Like,
yeah, I was reading an article about some sprayed weed, like with fentanyl and whatnot. That's insanity.
Yeah.
What? But what I was going to say is a lot of people that I know from that time in the late 90s, early 2000s, mid 2000s that stuck around in that and did not escape the harder drug scene are gone now because of that shit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, I you know, I can't even count on both my hands. I've lost so many people over the years to that, to not just fentanyl, but drugs in general, and suicide, mental health, and whatnot. So it's yet like, I think if anything, you said there's a lot of younger kids that are here listening or watching. It's like, find that thing that makes you happy when you're all alone or with your friends, whether it's like basketball or writing or reading or walking or making funny sounds, whatever it is, and like figure out how to turn that into a coping mechanism, because that could be your biggest superpower. I think for me it was music and also graffiti. I love graffiti. If y'all write graffiti, big ups to you. I don't recommend everyone to go out and write graffiti. It's a very risky, selfish, unrewarding pastime. I love it to death. And I love it to death, and it'll always be a part of me, and I'll always do it to some capacity. Sometimes, some years, some weeks, some days more than others. But you know, just find something, and it's not. I'm telling you right now, it's not going to be money or a pair of sneakers or anything like that you can physically like go to a store and purchase. It's going to be something that you yourself do with, you know, on your own time.
Yeah, I second all of that. I think it's super important. And yeah, I mean, graffiti might, you know, I mean, I don't know. It depends on where you're living. Some people take it more serious than others,
Sure,
obviously, right? Like, whatever. But again, as you know, as somebody who appreciates artwork, like, you know, I've always looked at it as such a labor of love, right? Because it's like, this is a massive undertaking, man. People out there really risking their lives, hanging off of things. Like, it's like, what are you guys doing out here?
Yeah.
And when were you out here doing this? So I think there's something really neat in the graffiti culture specifically. I'm not that talented, so it's not something I would ever take on, because I'm not about to like tear up a whole wall and leave it like that. But
it's a strange, interesting pastime to have. But yeah, it's one of mine.
Yeah,
so
totally.
Yeah.
So what is something like, what is there like a specific type of music that you think influences like you, I don't want to say your brand, but you do have quite like a wide umbrella of stuff that's going on.
I mean, I love I mean, I'd say, what do I like to sample, like more like East Coast, Detroit soul. I love soul music. I love classic rock. I love some jazz, older jazz, kind of Miles Davis-esque jazz. I love that. From the Beatles to whatever. And then there's plenty of newer bands, you know. And again, from that same era, you know, I grew up around a lot of like indie rock kids, punk rock kids and stuff. So I have a very broad taste in music. I like to say I like good music. I think I have a pretty good taste in music. Did that answer the question? What was the question? I'm sorry. That's such a hard question.
It's a huge question. Yeah, it's a huge question. Like, you know what I mean? And especially because you know, your like your catalog is so vast. It's like, how could I even ask that? Like, what inspires you? Like, I mean, obviously,
I like
that inspires you, but
everything. Life inspires me, but like musically, especially like the hip hop that I make, I'd say is heavily inspired by like Motown, soul, that kind of thing, and obviously 90s hip hop. So that kind of boom bap, drums, whatnot, raw breaks and whatnot. That's my shit. So, and kind of that sampled feeling, sampler kind of chopped up vibe. Yep.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. If you wanted to like highlight one thing in the hip hop community that you think that absolutely needs to make a full comeback, what would it be?
Oh man. Just and this is so biased, but like, and I know every rapper in the world is going to agree with me, just like a little more thought in the lyrics we're putting out and writing. I think, not that anything's bad. I'm not saying don't talk about, nothing's off the table. Talk about everything, I just feel like a lot of the newer joints I'm hearing, they're simpler, the songs are shorter, there's no concepts.
Yeah.
Granted, there's a ton of artists doing that. I mean, Ab-Soul does that, you know what I'm saying? Kendrick obviously does that. Joey Badass does that. There's a ton of artists that do that, and they're amazing. But I think I love the storytelling aspect.
I was just gonna say, bring back the art of storytelling.
Art of
Bring it
storytelling.
back.
Come on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Paint a picture. You can paint a picture. I miss imagery and lyrics. You know what I'm saying? And not just kind of hook, kind of like repeatable, catchy imagery. I mean, like full stories and experiences and whatnot. That shit's beautiful. So yeah, I'd say bring that back. And this is for the first time, I think, you're seeing rappers talking about mental health in songs and being vulnerable and really going to places that have never gone before. That's why I wanted to be careful. I don't want to say bring back real song, like, I don't know, because people are really talking and going down paths in rap and hip hop, you know, that haven't really been explored before, and that's dope. So the people that are doing it are really doing it right now, but I would love to hear more of that, I guess.
Yeah, it's a tough one because there's like specifically like recovery artists, right?
There's a
And
lot of
there's
recovery artists.
there's a ton that are like, you know, and a lot of them have been on this show. We've been really blessed to have them around it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's some that are
Dude,
like
that's
people that
beautiful.
are just like making music, but they also want to talk about, you know, their real shit that
Their
happened to
journey.
them. Yeah. And I think like regardless of however people are coming at it, and we use mental health and recovery as like a very umbrella term, obviously. Like,
Of
you know,
course, sure.
there's right. It's important to talk about it all. And a lot of the times the drug specific piece of it is often just a coping mechanism for a whole bunch of other stuff. But yeah, regardless of how we get to that music, I think now more than ever, like we're finally at a place where the transparency is starting to actually have like cause and effect, and people, because like people used to, I mean, the storytelling, although I'm here for it, I want the art of storytelling to come back, but like the storytelling used to tell like one kind of specific story in somebody's day, which is amazing, and I love that part about it. But now we get this kind of like a little bit wider version of it. Is like, it's not necessarily like I went to rehab and then I did this and then this. Is like I put myself in a position to be, you know, contemplating going to rehab. And so finally we're at a place where people can finally be like, these people look and sound and act like me, yet they have this platform. And I think it's actually starting to save lives.
I think so too, and I think that's very important, and I think it humanizes it and lets people know that this is just kind of a part of the human condition that happens to an overwhelming number of us. That like, you know, it So
well, man, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but like, remember when we used to like glorify rehab? Like, like rock music's the absolute worst, which I love. Like, I'm a sucker
to glorify like this rock star went to rehab or whatever,
right?
Blah blah blah. It was like the thing. Yeah. I guess that's another thing. No, I don't want to go down on a tangent about hip hop. I don't love the glorification of, you know, of using drugs so much. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's a really big thing in more mainstream rap and pop culture, and I think that's kind of just a ploy. I don't know.
No, I agree. I think it's a trend. It was really weird. I mean,
I think it's a weird trend.
Yeah,
I think it's like you went from glorifying drug dealers to glorifying fiends, and it's like that's a weird way to go. It's like neither are great, but it's like
But drug dealing was like a necessity out of being resourceful, and like there's a whole piece of like oppression, and like we don't have to go down that road necessarily.
Yeah,
like,
no doubt,
and all of that. But like,
no doubt,
right? But it was like a way to like pay.
It was a way out of that. Yeah,
right,
exactly. And then it just became cool to kind of be, you know, popping perks and shit, which is a very dangerous game to play. You know what I'm saying? So, and you know, that's still mainstream rap. You know, it's just, I guess I'd like to see less of that, maybe. For everybody, for the rappers involved, if they're actually doing the drugs, you know what I'm saying? I know rappers like Future have apparently never popped a perk, but they push them all. You know what I'm saying? Which is crazy to me. That's
why.
That's absolutely insane. You know, inspires a whole generation.
Damn.
Yeah, so that shit's weird to me, and I wish less shit that go away. I like Future's music, but you know what I'm
Right.
saying? But you kinda gotta read between the lines a little bit. Anyways, yeah, that's a whole nother
Yeah, and
topic or
I don't even mean to,
conversation.
like,
Yeah.
laugh, like, it's funny, it's just like, yeah, it's true, and not really a lot of people are talking about it, and I just wanna point out, like, shout out to everybody that's joining us in the comment section right now, like, we hear you, we see you, there's, like, people drop in, sober dates, congratulations to
Oh,
Henry
congrats.
on your
That's
6 months
amazing.
of sobriety, yeah, absolutely, you know, thank you, Milk, for coming through, like, everybody, like, there's, you know, everybody, but it's just, like, it's wild to me because 'cause we're sitting here, like, talking about artists who talk about doing drugs, but, like, really never have to deal with, like, the effects of what they're
Yeah.
saying ever, like, they don't.
And yo, and let me go back real quick. What do I really know? I don't know that man as a person. Who am I to speak on him?
Right, fair.
I was using it as a
Mhm.
example. That is a thing that happens. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
I just want to clarify. But shout out to everyone dropping their sober date and congrats and y'all, like, for real. That's amazing and beautiful. And I can't see the comments now, but I want to read them later. But y'all, that's beautiful. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's super important, and yeah, no shade to Future, obviously, he's a great artist, and it was nothing like that, but I think it was just, like,
Sure.
an easy example. I mean, it
It's a
is what it is, right? Like,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is accessible music, and I feel like people that put themselves out there like that, just like myself, like, where it's open to for people to say what they feel like they need to say. I mean, it's just an
It
opinion.
is, and it's
Yeah.
also important for people to know that, artists are artists
Mhm.
and like, you really gotta look inward to kind of find who you are, and, like, you don't need to idolize artists as much as I think a lot of people do, or as much as, like, maybe when I was a young kid, I did. I idolized basketball players and artists and shit, you know what I'm saying? And I think it's really as I've gotten older, it's more about learning more about who yourself is, and that's a lifelong journey in and of itself. Um, I
Isn't there
think
beauty in that? Like, isn't there
yeah,
some.
there is beauty in that, and I think what I'm trying to say is the older I get, the more I try to look inward, and I think the younger I was, it was all about the outside and the outward expression of everything, but try to find that, like, inner peace and inner self, I think, is what the goal is, and like I said, I'm nowhere near that, but that's a journey that I wanna be on, and I'm trying to be on, and I'm consciously always trying to, like, better myself in that regard and just kind of find peace within myself. Because yeah, that's a difficult thing.
Yeah. Just valuing yourself, like ourselves. I
Yeah.
started down this path. We called it hashtag me May. And it was like so simple. It was like 5 minutes, like pour a glass of water, go outside, drink the water outside. Like, you
Mhm.
know, no big deal. Like we ditched the like mindfulness and the all that, like we whatever all that means, that's great. And I'm grateful for
Sure.
people to come on and say all that stuff. But just like at the very simple core, just like pour a glass of water, go outside, drink the water, you know? And that turned into like 20 minutes of gardening and then an hour reading and like all these
Snowball.
things.
Yeah.
It snowball and all of a sudden I was just like, holy, like I actually like as much as it's about everybody else for Pinecase, but like at the end of the day, like it's absolutely everything about me. And then once my cup started feeling full, then all my relations started getting better.
Well,
And
that's exactly right. It's like, if yeah. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to agree with that sentiment.
yeah.
That's so true.
No, and it's funny because like I appreciate having these goals, which are these people that I idolize and people that I look up to. I think it's a really good idea to have these people in our lives to be like, okay, we can move towards that. But at the same
Yeah.
time, we have to give ourselves that same amount of value, dude, because we're capable of the same thing. And like,
We're all that's absolutely 1000% accurate. Is we are all on an equal playing field here. We are
mhm,
human beings. We have the same amount of time in a day and a month and a year and whatnot.
yeah,
And it's like it's there's an old dude, Jim Rohn. He's an old kind of like OG motivational speaker type guy, but one of his old things is work harder on yourself than anything else, and
yeah,
everything else will fall into place. And that is one of the most true statements I've ever heard. You were just kind of saying that. It's like you start off, and that's the other thing, is like the future doesn't exist, the past doesn't exist. We have this moment right now, and start that moment by drinking a glass of water and walking outside. And then what can I do in this next moment? I can garden. Wow, I'm enjoying the sunshine. I hear the birds. This is amazing. You know what I'm saying? And all of a sudden, that second turns to a minute, turns to an hour, turns to a day, and you've won the day. and you go to sleep and wake up and you can do it again. And it's like you do that a few times and you start to kind of feel this momentum building, and that's a real thing, I think, in life. You know what I'm saying? Just like you were saying, it's like it just gets started. You want to be a musician or a painter, an artist or a singer, whatever it is. It's like nobody starts off being amazing. Sure, there's natural talent in some people, but most of it's just like a bunch of fucking up and messing up and making lots of mistakes until something works. And I still don't know how to do anything. I just do shit until it kind of sounds okay, and then I'm like, cool, let's move on. But like yeah. And that goes back to just, yeah, sorry, I'm rambling again, but yeah.
No, I love it, because that's exactly like when I started it, I was like, oh, it's just 5 minutes or it's just 20 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, but then I like, you actually kind of have to like intentionally practice it. And then before you know it, like that, it's like second nature. Now it's easy to open up the space for other people. Like I'm like, not like some sort of like enlightened guru or anything, but I'm like, holy shit, all this crap is just coming so much easier because I'm already so comfortable in my skin.
Because you've taken care of yourself and yeah, exactly. It's that's so important.
Yeah. Calico says ramble more. Yeah, I agree. Like I could listen to you talk all day, and I just think it's like you humanize it. Like you just bring it back and keep it simple. Like it doesn't need to be this like crazy unreachable thing. Like it's just like, I don't know, it's refreshing to hear.
Yeah, cool, I'm glad. That's awesome. Because yeah, sometimes I think I'm crazy, but you know.
Is there anything or any type of a music or project that has been sitting on the back burner for so long that you're like, no, okay, I'll get there eventually? Like,
yeah, there is. I did this whole thing in 2020 where I did a bunch of mixtapes. I did a Nipsey Hussle mixtape, and I did a bunch of other mixes with both rappers that have passed and rappers that are alive that I love. I started it right before the pandemic, and then it kind of was halfway done. I finished it. It just didn't feel right. There was a lot going on in the world. I go back to it and listen to it sometimes, and I've posted it here and there, bits and pieces. I think one day I'll finish it, but yeah, that's something that's been, it was 2025. That was 5 years ago. I started in 2019. That's 6 years ago. So, but it's new to everybody who hasn't heard it, which is everybody but me and a handful of my friends and family and shit, So, yeah, I'll come back to it one day. But I have, like I said, I try to write every day. Every day there's a little piece of something. Sometimes those pieces will eventually turn into songs, whether it takes weeks, months, years. I may make a beat and forget about it, find it going through a folder and work on that. There's a bunch of songs I released recently that I started those verses years ago, So yeah. Yeah.
That's neat.
Everything's a work in progress, including myself. Yeah.
Chronically under construction, right?
Chronically under construction, for sure.
How did you, not to make it about the pandemic, but I'm always curious to hear, like, and I'm sure music was probably one of one of those things, but like, how did that affect your music? How did the pandemic affect your music?
Well, I had a very interesting life experience happen a week before the lockdown. I was in Los Angeles, but oddly enough, I was visiting my father, who was at a veterinary conference in Las Vegas. Me and my brother flew out here and we're visiting my father and his best friend. And my father, we had a great weekend, and my father ended up passing in Vegas, like in front of me in the hotel lobby, dropped dead.
No
way. So that was heavy. I'm fine now. That was 6 years ago. I love my father. He was a rock and roll cat. Like, it was a very rock star way to go. Looking back on it, he felt no pain. It was a beautiful way for him to pass. He was with me and my brother. It was wild, but it was cool. But anyways, so my father passes February 22nd, and then we went into lockdown in LA like the first week of March. So I was dealing with the funeral and all that shit. And when I came back to LA, everything was going crazy and we went under lockdown, but I needed that time just to be alone and grieve for real. So it was a real blessing for me to have that, not to have to think about work and all that. It was not a blessing for a lot of people, including a lot of my friends and family who suffered greatly through that, both like with mental illness and with physical illness from COVID and whatnot. Thankfully, most of those people have recovered and everyone's doing well now. But you know, so I was dealing with death more so than I was dealing with COVID. I was dealing with the passing of my father, who I had a good relationship with when I was young. We drifted apart when I was a teenager, and rekindled our relationship into, he was one of my best friends by the time he passed. You know what I'm saying? So as much as the whole world was suffering, I was dealing with the loss of my father at that time, and really focused on that. So I can't say COVID really affected me as much as the death of my father among that whole time. I was just grieving and shit, you know, so. And, you know, and I had some slip ups there where I went to some really dark places during the pandemic, you know what I'm saying? And that goes to say that, like, I bounced back, but nobody's perfect and things happen and life is tough. And in tumultuous times, you never know how we're going to react and stuff. So also, just by saying that, I think I learned a lesson through that. Is like, you got to be a little more gentle with yourself. Again, going back to being kind to yourself and being, you know, taking care of yourself is like, you know, life is fucking hard. It's never easy. If it's easy, there's something wrong with you. I'm sorry, but I haven't ever experienced an easy part of life yet in my 40 years, you know, that was really worth living. All the shit worth living is the hardest shit. So anyways, another ramble, but here we are. Did that answer the question? I think.
Well, first of all, I'm sorry for the loss of your dad. May he rest
thank you.
in you know, in peace. I absolutely adore the fact that you can find that. My dad's also a musician, and I would want nothing less for his passing than to be an absolute fucking show, you know?
It was like a grand finale, an encore.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, okay, I get it now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. And like,
yeah, for sure.
Except I'm like, yep. No, I get it. I get that.
Yeah.
It's wild though that, like, you have, because a lot of people, when they talk about COVID, it's like, you know, the world shut down and it affects a lot of people, and I'm sorry for that. But I feel like maybe you, like, that probably was a massive distraction. I don't even know if I would have noticed that COVID was really happening if I was passing of my parents.
LA was wild. Everything was shut down.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
And there was a lot of chaos going on, but I had I'm kind of a introvert. I know I write a lot of music and perform and whatnot, but other than that, I kind of stick to myself and like a few people in my life. Yeah, and I kind of just hibernated and went into like this weird kind of state of mourning. Didn't come out until I was ready, probably 6-7 months later. So, and the world was still not the same after that. You know, I don't think it's ever gonna be the same. But yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, I don't even. I'm like, here. You want to hear a segue? But there isn't really a segue from that, because I think a lot of cool things came out of the artists that dealt with COVID. I think that
so many.
It was really interesting to kind of see, like, you know, what everybody was up to and how everybody kind of spent their time. Like, I think if there was like a silver lining, maybe that would be it. It was just like, holy shit, I didn't know you had that random talent or whatever.
We got a lot of great records, a lot of new artists, a lot of people that found new passions and new talents and new ways of coping, and you know, and a lot of people didn't, and a lot of people did not, you know, do so well during that, and that, you know, that's such a bummer. But
yeah, totally. Well, yeah, it is. For those of you out there that, you know, maybe didn't find that coping then or haven't found it now, there is hashtag 988 that you guys can go ahead and reach out to. It is toll free in the States and up here in Canada. It's hashtag 988. I think Calico Pie put it in the comments for us. You guys go ahead and use that number whenever you need it. You know, I've called it just to make sure I'm not sending people to like the abyss. And they're trained professionals over there. They know exactly what they're doing. It's the suicide prevention line. And again, like I mentioned earlier, Pinecase does have a warm line. It's 250-289-3948. And that's, I mean, we do crisis intervention as well, but it's also like, if you just need to call and, you know, you're going through like a custody battle, or you haven't seen your kids in a while, or you're having a bad day at work, or someone hit your dog or whatever, like those things are all equally as valuable. And so, yeah, like, don't ever feel like you don't have anybody, because we're absolutely here for you. And sorry, I didn't mean to like steal that moment, but just want to make sure that, like, you know, when people are listening to this, that we're not just leaving them into their own vices, because there's definitely people out here that care.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Y'all can reach out to me too on socials or DM. Honestly, I'm not even joking. If anything resonated with you, or you have any questions or anything, please, it's Werdperfect, WERD on all socials. Y'all can DM me anytime. I try to respond to everyone. So
thank you so much. Yeah, we got your socials up in the comment section. That's amazing. Before we get out of here, what can we expect from you? I don't want to say what can we expect from you, because honestly, you put out so much amazing stuff all the time. But like,
thank you.
but I just feel like it's like this staple thing to ask. Like,
yeah, more music. I got my next thing's dropping in 2 weeks. I try to drop on Fridays almost every 2 weeks. And that's it. More shows. I hope to make it up to Canada sometime. If any of y'all listening, you know, maybe in the comments, let me know where you're listening from. I'm trying to find some cities to come play at. Yeah, and that's it, man. Thank y'all for listening. For real.
The honor is absolutely all ours. We appreciate it. We appreciate anybody that wants to donate their time to come and hang out with us and kick it with us over here at Pinecase Podcast. It is absolutely valuable, and we don't it does not go unnoticed. You guys in the comment section, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I see cities all over the place. There's like Nanaimo, cool. There's Chicago, there's Atlanta, there's some random ones. I even seen a host there was like a host of a show who I know was live. Like he jumped over for a second. I was like, yo, aren't you like actually in the middle of hosting a show right now? So there's like some really cool people out there. John with the Suicide Registry Society. He is in the comments. So again, thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out with us tonight. Yeah. Please use those links that are in the comment section. Man, I don't even know. The door is wide open. We're perfect. Anytime you want to come and hang out, the door. I
appreciate that.
Wide open.
It's all love. I appreciate y'all for real.
Yeah, awesome. Very cool. All right, you guys take care of each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Peace.
Bye.
We stay strong.
The further you take my rights away, I'ma run to it, refuse to hear my voice. Speak loud when I spit it, but you don't get it. You just wanna be a side critic. See somebody else showing hate in the side of the road with it. Now how would you feel standing on the sideline and watch a color of a nation deteriorate over time? The flag real high, but compassion 6 feet below. Now you're searching for that justice that decided to never show. Deny my place, I'm back with a trace. Keep up the pace, tight lace, game face. Get back in the race. Whatever they did could never be undone. Every dark night ends with the rising of the sun. Squandered every wealth that's built from the mud. Squandered every wealth that's built from the blood. Squandered every wealth that's built in chains. Stolen from the ancestors, running through my veins.
With the strength of 1,000 lion and the strength of 1,000 giant, please stay strong. Please stay strong. With the strength of 1,000 elephant and the strength of 1,000 tiger, we stay strong. We stay strong. We stay strong.
I can see, run to the light at the end of the tunnel winner.
We stay strong.
I can't breathe. We're gonna get oxygen without the justice system.
We stay strong.
And I know, gotta keep my head together.
We stay strong.
Don't doubt me, please don't doubt me.
We stay strong.
Tell me how can we be strong if we still shooting? Tell me how can we be strong if we still looting? Tell me how can we be strong if we still hating? Please tell me now, please.